if you show up with a clean shirt with your logo, you have the proper contracts, you have those clauses that the bigger guys would have and all that, you're going to gain that respect from your client. If you show up, you barely have a contract, you're in your ripped jeans, you don't have the right lingo in your contract to start with, your schedule is all over the place, the client's going to take advantage of that. They're going to treat you to that level. Even if you're just that one guy, it doesn't matter. I guarantee you the contract you need to sign for that washroom is the same contract that the biggest contractor in your city will sign for that washroom.
This is Conquer Contractor Chaos, built for the contractor that's ready to run a business that works for them and creates the life they've been fighting for. Tune in to get the tools, systems, and strategies that are battle-proven to set you free. One move each episode, straight talk, things you can use today. Take your time back, be home for dinner, do the work, lead your crew, love your family, conquer the chaos.
Welcome back to the Conquer Contractor Chaos podcast, guys. And today I'm sitting down with a good friend and longtime client of mine, Laurent Pichette, who owns Cutting Edge Construction in Ottawa, Canada. And Laurent's a little bit different than your average contractor. He's also a CrossFit athlete at a competition level. And he's taken his business from a small carpentry company all the way up to a major commercial player when it comes to construction in his city. We're talking 7-figure contracts, guys. And I wanted to sit down with Laurent and I wanted to pick his brain on a couple of different things. I wanted to talk about his attitude and his health when it comes to keeping fit as a contractor while also growing a large business. And the second thing I wanted to cover was getting into the commercial work. How does a contractor start landing commercial contracts? And what do you need to do to prepare to take more commercial projects on? So if that sounds like something that you'd be interested in, stick around and listen to the episode, guys. And always go back to the show notes to check out the links for our school courses where the tools that we use in coaching with guys like Laurent are all there for you to be able to download and implement in your business. Looking forward to this one, guys. I'll see you in there. Welcome back to the show, guys. My name is Lee. I'm a coach to contractors and I own Brave Academy and the Conquer Contractor Chaos program. My guest today is Laurent Pichette. He owns Cutting Edge Construction in Ottawa, and he's also a CrossFit athlete. Me and Laurent have been working with each other for what? About a year and a bit now? Coming up 2 years?
Just a little over a year. Yeah.
Yeah, just over a year. Yeah. And Laurent's, we talk like friends at this point. So this is probably going to sound more like two buddies talking than a traditional podcast with maybe a couple thousand contractors listening in the background. So we'll mind our P's and Q's, but just if this one's a bit off than our usual podcasting style that we talk, just know me and Laurent go pretty deep. You know, we're good friends. He's a good client, so we talk a little bit differently. Laurent, thank you for being here, man. I know you're a busy dude, so I appreciate you taking the time.
Hey, it's my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Here's where I want to go with today. So I want to get into your backstory. Where did you come from? How did this business start? I want to talk about your CrossFit background and the mindset that you get from that, right? Like that, putting yourself in tough situations and how that helps you as a contractor. Then we're going to lead into the whole commercial infrastructure work kind of conversation. How do we start getting into that? Especially, you know, you're wrapping up the Bronson Center, which has been a huge project for your guys. We want to talk about the good, the bad, the challenges that you've had. And then I want to talk a bit about your team, right? Because we've talked a lot about hiring A players and what that needs to look like. And I wanted to jump into that with you, who's actually putting people in place in your business where the stakes are a little bit higher, right? You take a lot of pride in your business. You don't just let anybody in, you know? So I want to get into that. So let's kick things off. Bring us back. Like, let's go back to the start. Like, where does Laurent start? What was young you like?
Depends who you ask, but you know, a little shit disturber. No, I mean, where I started a bit, I was fortunate in the fact that my parents actually had an old 100-year-old Victorian house, and my dad was pretty hands-on renovating himself. So,
Right.
you know, just helping out my dad, you know, Sunday morning. The worst thing you could say in my house was you're bored because my dad had something to do. So yeah, it started in that, and then sort of fell in. I got lucky, man. I picked up the yellow pages and started. I decided I wanted to be a carpenter. Picked up the yellow pages, started calling companies. One finally answered, and I met my mentor, who's now my business partner. So he took me under his wing. I went for my red seal with him and did that whole spiel, and sort of eventually that company sort of dissolved. The owner was an engineer, right? So you knew it
Right.
wasn't going to last. So, anyways, it dissolved, and eventually we got a call to we had an opportunity to do a big project, and my mentor called me up, and he's like, "Hey, let's team up and get this going." And
That
so
was the
we took the
birth.
contract, and that's how cutting edge construction started. We're like, okay, like let's do this.
Amazing. That's
So
awesome. And I think, just even from the get-go, I picked up the yellow pages and started calling, you know,
yeah,
like that's a big ticket even just in itself. So, but your dad, your parents weren't business owners, or did they own businesses?
no, my parents were government workers.
Of
You know,
course, you're in Ottawa, right? Which is,
yeah,
yeah,
Ottawa, capital of Canada. 90% of the people here work for the feds. So, which is
yeah,
great for business, by the way, because good times, bad times, governments usually roll in. So we have that advantage in Ottawa.
of
Um,
course.
but yeah, my dad was an economist. My mom was high up in the government, but no, my dad just renovating this old house with on the weekends at night, bare hands. Just that old fine woodworking, restoring the old stuff. It was just it brought a lot of aspects to me. The I knew I was never made to sit behind a desk.
Right.
There's a creativity in there too with carpentry, which is always fun, building stuff, having to figure out things, especially in an old house. Nothing straightforward. You open a wall and it's nothing but fixing and stuff. So, it's one of the things I always try to tell the young guys in our business who seem that maybe they fall into it or they don't think it's what it is. It's like, if you want to, this business can really work your brain. You can really, there's a lot involved, and you can really, really get into projects where, it's not for dummies.
Yeah.
And that's what I liked about the carpentry side versus other maybe sub trades as well.
Yeah.
Nothing straightforward. So you gotta figure out a lot of stuff, which is fun.
You have to use the old noggin, eh?
Yeah, once in a while.
Yeah.
Whether
Yeah.
it's to think or to hold up drywall sheets with your head on the ceiling, and one or the other.
Yeah. But I think, like topography, where your business is, right? Like where your business is located obviously plays a factor into it. You're used to working with, older period houses, which is wild because, Canada isn't that old in the grand scheme of things. But we've seen
Yeah.
this even where I'm from in Edinburgh, you're talking 5,000-year-old, city with buildings that if you want to even touch it, the amount of permitting you have to go through, you know?
Yeah.
The way that the plaster's done, it has to be done by, Red Seal Venetian plasterer who was blessed by a shaman, like it's that stringent. So you probably face
On
the same thing.
Oh yeah, in Ottawa we have the Heritage Society. We call them the Hysterical Society, and they're the ones that deal with that. So if your house is designated, because they go around and they designate certain buildings heritage. Now
Yeah,
there's different levels of heritage. There's exterior only, all the way to like the freaking lampshades have to stay the same. So depending on where you land in there. So for example, actually my parents are on a heritage street. They can't touch the outside of their house without keeping it. So for example, they just redid all their windows because it was the old single pane. They had to be done in wood with the same style, Venetian style, the whole 9 yards. So you have to go and source out all that stuff. So yeah, it's fun.
yeah. So it's like a big strata, essentially.
Yeah,
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 yeah. Or for my Americans listening here, like a big HOA, right? Homeowners
yeah,
Association kind of thing. Which comes with challenges, right? Like, I mean, there's always
yeah.
these things to navigate, especially for younger guys who are getting in, and maybe they start out with things like small renovation, right? Change your vanity, do some tiling in a bathroom, but then they get into that kind of like permitting process and learning when you need engineers. And I find that's a really big learning curve for a lot of these younger guys.
Oh yeah. Especially with in today's world, it's all about who's taking the liability.
Yeah,
Liability is such a big word. And the more you go into commercial world, it's every meeting you have, every sit down, it's a liability, liability, liability. You said it right. Now back in the day, you could build a deck and nobody cared. Now you got to get your permits because what, God forbid something happened, who's getting sued?
yeah,
It's the unfortunate part of our business now. So, and yeah, the bigger you get and the more the more the dollar signs are around, the more people are looking for that. We just closed up a big 50,000 square foot commercial space. Well, the building inspector walks in, says, "Oh yeah, okay, you got emergency lights, you got handicap washroom. Where's all the letters? Where's all the engineering letters signing off on all of this and taking the responsibility?" Because that's what it is, right? So you learn that game as you go, that you can be the best carpenter in the world, best whatever, that the paperwork and the inspections have to follow up, or else you're dead in the water.
Yeah, and you need to be prepared to, if you want to scale to that point where you are taking on those projects, you need to be prepared for some bureaucracy.
Oh yeah, bureaucracy, kissing
Red
boots.
tape.
Engineers are what they are, like red
Yeah.
tape, and the other thing too is that in small renovations to a certain point, you're missing something, you can go to Home Depot. Big commercial, you got occupancy and people want to move in. The engineer is not sending you. You're not calling him up and being like, "Hey, can I get my occupancy letter?" It's okay. Well, I'm going to come down. I'm going to this. I'm going to that. So there's also a lot of foresight where, you know, okay, we want to open by this date. I got to be done 2, 3, maybe sometimes 4 weeks ahead, just to get the paperwork together,
Yeah.
just to get, the sign-offs and the visits and everybody in line and all that stuff.
Because that stuff doesn't move fast at all.
Oh
Doesn't
no.
move fast. No.
And they'll catch you on one mistake. If you want, like on this job, actually, we got caught on a mistake because just to give you an example, the structural engineer wrote his letter of approval and everything, but he put the wrong year for the building code. So what do? They fail your inspection. You're like, what happened? And then notes, 2015 building code, please update to 2024. Call the engineer. So that takes another 24, 48 hours to call him up. He doesn't answer. You leave a voicemail, follow up with an email.
Yeah.
Can you please review the,
For sure.
So,
this is why we say you need to have a great relationship with those guys. You need to really work to make them want to work with you, and maybe pull some favors every now and again. Because if
absolutely.
you're on the bad side of an engineer or a permitting officer, you'll feel it. You'll feel it in the timeline of your project. 100%.
Oh, and we tell guys, we know the guys that can't be on site when those guys show up because you send them out to lunch. You're like, here's $20, go get a pizza. Because at the end of the day, like we tell our guys, a building inspector is God for us. You piss him off, he can make your life a living hell. And to be fair, you create good relationships, you run a good business, you have the right guys. It's no problem, right? You keep, like, knock on wood. But we've never had a problem because you treat them where all they want is to see you do proper work, treat with respect, and have an open conversation. But there's always guys out there that think they know more and all that. But at the end of the day, it's not worth it. If the inspector comes on, and you might agree, might not, you have to know when to put your ego aside, take it on the chin, and be like, okay, that's great. You're the boss. If you want to see this or that, whether there's rhyme or reason for it, it's just, here you go. Like, no problem.
Yeah. Yeah, you need to live within the confines of the rules that they set, right? And if you can, and the cool thing is once you've done, 5, 6, 7, 8 projects and you've built a little bit of a relationship with them and they know you do good work, they're not looking as deep for those mistakes. They're walking in, they're saying, oh, this is Laurent, this is one of his projects. He'll be fine. I'm not going to grill him too much.
Oh, absolutely. And you learn quick. They're not out to get you. Like, a lot of people think, oh my God, these guys are out to, they're not.
Yeah.
They really aren't. They're like everybody else. They're trying to do their job. Yeah, there's better ones and worse ones, like any business. But just like there's better inspectors and worse inspectors, there'll be better subtrades and worse. If you can't deal with that, you can't deal with the rest. It's just part of the business we chose. So yeah. And like you said, the more you experience is king. So the more you work with them, the more you learn them. We know the inspectors. We know what they're looking for. We know some of them are more about the fire safety, right? They're really big on that, and it's all about the fire. So you pay more attention to that. Some of them are more about the paperwork. So the more you give them, the happier they are. They all have their little quirks, and the more you work with them and just open conversation of what they're looking for, they're golden.
Yeah, 100%. And I think it's pretty safe to say that, if you're going to get into that side of the business, it needs to be intentional. You need to do some research to know what you're getting yourself into, make that decision. Hey, I'd rather stick with small renovations, residential stuff that's not going to have as deep bureaucracy with it. But if you want access to the big ticket items, unfortunately, that's what's going to have to happen. Whether it's, tenant improvement stuff, infrastructure projects. And that was my background, right? I come from a major infrastructure, like industrial level flooring background where, you think you can just go in and throw the floor down. No, you have to have this sign off. You have to have this done. If you're going to get into that, you need to be prepared. We're getting a little bit too deep in the weeds here because I'm curious to know. I know we're just like straight in here to rag.
We could keep going for hours on this.
I know.
Only 12 episodes together if we keep going.
We could do 12 episodes. I think guys will enjoy this for sure. Like when you were, at the beginning of this business, right? Like you partnered up, you had your mentor, we've had discussions, who's now at that point now where he's getting ready to get out of it and you're kind of moving, you are the mentor to somebody else now, right?
Yeah.
But early in that relationship, right, when you were a young kid getting into it, like what were some of the biggest mistakes that the business made early on when you first partnered up? Was it pretty smooth sailing or was there some...
Oh, Christ. Now we're going to need 24 episodes. I made every mistake in the book. I mean, it's one of the biggest problems, I think, in our industry, and we've talked about is we have mentors for everything we do, coaching and all that, but then all of a sudden we get these opportunities where we say, oh, we'll start running a business. And whether it's ego, opportunity, lack of time, we just go into it thinking, oh, okay, that's easy. And then we seem to all learn from our mistakes, which is, it's a hard lesson. But yeah, to get back to the question of what mistakes I made, I mean, everything one of the big things is you take everything on yourself. I find that as a general rule, I find in construction, because we start small, we undervalue ourselves and underappreciate ourselves in terms of the business. How many times do you hear guys like, oh, well, I'm just a small business. I'm just me. A business is a business. So all those mistakes I made, whether it's not hiring a bookkeeper right away, thinking I could do it, not employee contracts, this and that, all stem from the fact that, oh, well, we're just small. We'll grow into it. We'll do that, and not actually take a step back and be like, okay, whether we're 100 guys or just one guy, I'm now a business. I have a corporate number, just like Amazon and those guys. I have to do the same taxes. I have to do the same thing. I have an HR department. It's just me, right? Just because they have a whole department, I'm still dealing with all, so that was the main thing, not establishing the systems and establishing the things to where I wanted to grow versus always being in the moment and dealing with it and always being reactive because like, oh shit, now I do really need a bookkeeper, but I'm so behind in this and that. And you're always playing catch up. Right.
Yeah. Yeah. We definitely talk a lot in our coaching calls about like how everybody's working 2 weeks ago, right? They're working 2 weeks back the way and they're trying to catch up constantly. They're in that reactive mindset. And really what we try to do here is put you like 3 months minimum to a year in advance. We're in annual planning sessions right now where we're doing our business plans. We're talking about who we're going to hire. But like you said, everybody starts out the same way. They're like, I'm a great carpenter. So surely if I just, fill out this form, send it off to the government, I can just keep being a great carpenter and I'll make a ton of money. And I think that's a kind of really big kind of common mistake that we all make is we don't identify ourselves as business owners or entrepreneurs. We go, I'm just a carpenter, right?
And I tell even the guys now too, the younger guys, the work's the easy part. And I'm not trying to say that condescendingly or anything like that, but you can find great carpenters, you can find all that. And in a business, you realize, once you step into the business, the work will get done. We'll find the people and all that. It's everything around the work, especially when you're trying to grow, create that higher clientele. Yeah, the work's the work. We're going to get it done. That's what we do. It's everything around it. It's running the business, floating the things, the clients. My God.
Where's the work coming from?
The clients exactly. Like sometimes I'm not on site and we've all done it when we were employees too of, oh, here's the boss again. We haven't seen him in 3 days. And it's like, okay, but your paycheck keeps coming. And when this job is done, right away, we're on the next one because of all the meetings I took and this and that. Right. So
of course.
And for the mistakes, it's just, I made them all because of
Yeah.
that, right? Like you come in and you run it just like you said, oh, just got to keep doing the work and the rest will follow. Well, it won't. It'll
Yeah.
catch up to you. It won't follow. It'll catch up to you. And when it does, you're going to be so busy and so many guys and it's so much easier to be proactive and put the systems in when you only have a guy or two than, oh shit, I got 10 guys now and I got to put in the system and fix 10 systems, not just
Yeah.
yours, right? So, and we've talked about it too, where it's like, okay, what's your goal? Okay, to be a $10 million company, great. What does a $10 million company need? We'll start now. I don't care that you're making, 100 grand a year. If you want to be a $10 million company, okay, you're going to need proper software system. Well, see there, that's one big mistake I made at the beginning is I didn't select a proper software system that to run a company our size now we don't have a choice to have. It would have been so much easier to learn that system when it's just me. I'm the only one punching in the time card.
Mm-hmm.
I'm doing a project at a time, so I only have to do like one invoice every other week and really look and read and how to do the invoice with the system. Okay, maybe I'm going to Home Depot once a week. Great, that's one receipt I have to put in, develop those habits. Now we get the program. Well,
Mm-hmm.
got 6 guys, 8 jobs on the go, this and that, and you're all trying to like jam it into the system. I wish I would have done it back then.
Yeah, and I'm sure every single person listening to this podcast episode is saying that there's a million things I wish I had done,
Oh,
2 years ago, 4 years ago, 5 years ago. And it's totally true, right? Like do you, you know, it's gonna like, well, I mean, you're a parent as well, so you'll understand this, but kids grow really fast, right? You feel like you're constantly buying shoes. You feel like you're constantly buying clothes, and you're like, that fit you last week. How come it doesn't fit you anymore? I have to, go out and buy you more. Same thing in your business. You're growing every single day and you don't even realize. And then sooner than later, you outgrow your systems. If you only build a system for today, you'll outgrow that in the next 2 months, 3 months, 4 months. And the way that Laurent's saying is kind of like putting your dad's suit on and growing into it, right? Growing inside of a bit, design the system in a way where you can grow into it later. And you're totally right, man. Totally right.
well, it's an interesting, just finish on that. Like, it's an interesting thing to do sometimes where you think, and we all have it, something happens at work, we think, oh, our business isn't where we want it to be, or maybe we're not that big and all that. I challenge everybody to just take notes of where you were this time last year, 2 years ago, and 3 years ago, and you'd actually be surprised at how much has happened in just a couple of years' time, right? We take it for granted. Sometimes we're always looking forward, but sometimes that motivation of just looking back and being like, oh shit, like look at what all we've done in these last years. All of a sudden we got, I don't know what it is, but even us, like, wow, now I got my logo on a truck. We got a shop with our sign above it. We got this and that. Oh wow, okay, like this all happened in X amount of time. Like, yeah, we're
Yeah.
growing. So, and then translate that, like, oh shit, if we did that in the last 2-3 years where we were, how much can we get done now in the next 2-3 years now that we're even bigger? Okay, like we can get a lot done here. So how do we make sure that doesn't bite us in the ass where we get too big for our bridges or take on too much? Well, okay, the right systems and the systems not for now, like you said previously, but for in those 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
Let's be proactive about this so that in 3 years' time, when we can double, triple what we've done in the last 3 years, we're ready for it. We're not playing
Yeah.
catch up again.
For sure. This is why we preach numbers, right? We say, your only visual cue of progress is how many new vehicles that I have or how many guys that I have on site. Did we get the uniforms? But the way that I like to look at it is let's look at your year over year data, right? What did your gross margin increase year over year? What did your revenue increase? What was the number of leads, right? When you have that data set in front of you, you can see it visually. And yeah, it's not as sexy as seeing, 10 guys lined up in front of the job site with nice uniforms on, holding your branded coffee mugs, right? 'Cause that's what you just call it wrong.
Yeah.
Branded coffee mug. But it's, like, what does it actually look like on paper? And how can I, as a business owner, analyze that data and say, yeah, here's what that means. That means that we did this kind of marketing right. It means that we did invest in people in the right way. We did put them into training. Really getting a handle on your numbers can help you see that visually and also helps you forecast for the future as well. But like Laurent said, when you start out, you're wearing every hat. You're on site, you're swinging the hammer, you're doing invoices at 11, 12 o'clock at night. I was that guy, right? I was that guy too. Almost got divorced a couple of times, you know, missed a few date nights, missed dinner more than I should
Yeah,
have.
no,
But,
another cue
we
for
all are
your
that way. Yeah.
yeah, another big lesson for everybody out there that wants to start a construction company. Marry the right woman.
Yes.
Number one piece of advice, pick the right partner because yeah, they're going to need a lot of patience and they're going to need
Yeah.
to love you a lot.
Yeah. I'm sure we could get in, we could quickly run ChatGPT and find some divorce rates and contract. I think I actually covered this in a prior podcast once, but the divorce rate is high. It's almost at the similar level of like cops, like police officers, right? Similar
Yeah.
divorce rates and stuff. But yeah, like Laurent said, the choice of partner you make has pretty severe ties to your success level that you will become. You need someone who can be your rock in the background. And, especially you throw kids into the mix as well. Well, I mean,
Oh,
your kids 2 this year?
yeah, she's going to turn 2 in
Yeah, 2.
April.
Yeah, which is wild, man. I remember when, you guys were, when Kate was still pregnant and you're like getting ready, like, and chatting me through, and I'm like, remember this, take this to the hospital. But yeah, throw kids into the mix, man. And honestly, like you need that time with your family. How can you focus on a business and a newborn at the same time? And let me ask you that, Laurent, like, how did you get through that point?
Well, back to what we were saying, just the best wife in the world. I mean, yeah, especially since we didn't have it easy. I mean, 3rd week of life of our daughter, she was in the ICU with RSV. There was some sleep issues and stuff like that. But my wife, like, God bless her. I don't know how she did it. We say
Yeah.
everybody's like, oh, how'd you do it with the contracting business? I'm like, me, I had it easy. I got to go to work. She's the one who, she had it hard. But it's keep things in perspective. And I will say there's nothing more motivating than a child. Like, it's funny how you grow this business, you think you're mature in this and that, and then you get a kid and you realize you didn't even touch the tip of the iceberg. They really put you in gear and realize, okay, it's time to really work towards the future and stuff like that, right? Because it's not when it's you and your wife, well, you know how it is. It's about you guys, you're having fun. Okay, yeah, you got to support your wife, but now with a kid, it's like, okay,
Yeah.
this is for them. I got this
100%.
massive responsibility, and we're good or bad, but it's always good if you have that mindset. I mean, those tough days, you come home and your daughter's there waiting for you with a big smile. Makes
Yeah.
it all worth it. So,
Absolutely. 100%
a lot
agree,
of
man.
communication though, and a lot of communication, a lot of understanding, and
Yeah, and it's especially when you're an owner of a business and you have employees, we say it's lonely at the top, right? Like you're very rarely the good guy. You're always the bad guy, especially in the beginning when you're making mistakes and your people are feeling it. And, you missed my paycheck, or you turned me down for that raise that I really wanted. That can play a big part in your mental health throughout the day at work. But when you walk through those doors, you could do no wrong in front of that kid.
yeah.
It's just like, Dad, you're amazing. I've been waiting for you all day. And it's super nice to have that.
And I think that point too, it's learning how to, and this is hard because it's our businesses, but when you have that child, you have to learn the skill of separating the two. I mean, there's going to be those extra rough days, and my wife's awesome at it, where it's like, I'll text her, I'll be like, hey, like, today was bad. Today's a beer night where I'm grabbing a cold beer. But you got to know when to, okay, I'm in the moment, and the moment is my wife and my daughter, right?
Yep.
You stressing about work, and I know it's easier said than done. I'm guilty of it too, those sleepless nights. But in that moment, stressing about work won't change anything at work. All it's going to do is take your attention away from your family. So it's that balance. And my wife's really good too sometimes at just telling me, being like, hey, we haven't seen you all week. You've been stressed. Like, you need, like, what are we doing this Saturday or something? Like, we need to do something as a family. And okay, great. Like, yeah, you're right. Let's take some hours and just focus on this. And to be fair, when you do that, it actually re-energizes you. It's one of those things. Sometimes taking a step back is the best thing for your business. So
Yeah, for sure. Was there a moment, right? Because obviously you've had this business for a while, you've grown it, you've kind of worked through the hard part of it, you've felt the concrete lessons, hit concrete a couple of times and said, oh, well, that was dumb, or that really hurt. When was the moment that you realized, if I don't change the way that I run this, I'm gonna cap out, or it's gonna crush me? Like, what point was it where you kind of shifted your mindset into, I need to be the entrepreneur, and I need to start acting like a business owner? When did that happen?
Oh, that's a good question. Well, sort of when we started working together, because I think that's one of the calls I made listening to that a bit before that. Yeah, I just realized, take a step back, and there was the stress of the family. We were starting pregnant, getting married. One point you look at the bank account, CRA sends you their bill, just a conglomeration of things where you realize, like, oh shit, okay, we're doing all this work. Where did the money go? What's going on? Why can't I even know what I'm doing in the next 24 hours? It was sort of that thing, you know. And luckily, one thing I've always preached is continuous education. So I listen to a lot of podcasts. I try to educate myself, and through that too, the mix of that, you sort of realize, listening to other people, like, okay, there is a better way. Like, what am I doing here?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like,
Yep.
this shouldn't be
Like,
like this.
yeah,
Yeah.
and I think you're really far in it as well. Like, you're too close to the action to really be able to see from higher up, like, where your mistakes are too. And I think it does take a big person to admit, hey, maybe I'm, and I mean, French Canadian, Scottish guy, we're kind of traditionally known to be stubborn, right?
Oh yeah.
Or skeptical. But to for you to say, hey, do you know what? Like, I've tried my way. Now it's time to try somebody else's, or now it's time for me to open up and maybe see if there's new ideas here.
Yeah, and the competitive
Yeah.
sports have really helped me with that. Like, where you see, it's interesting to have a business. We need a certain ego, right? You need to think. You've talked about this before too. Like, if you don't believe in yourself, how the hell are you going to sell the client on your product? You got to be like, hey, I'm better than the next guy. That
Hmm.
requires a bit of ego, and I'm good, and this and that. And most of us that start businesses, we think we can do it better than our previous boss. But we can't, when ego becomes stupidity, right? Or foolishness. I think it was Einstein that said, the definition of insanity is trying to do the same thing multiple times and expecting the same result. And where the competitive sports comes in, it's like you look at all your top athletes. Like, I'm a hockey lover. You look at Sidney Crosby and those guys. They still got the coach behind the bench.
Yeah.
They're still looking their plays. They're still reviewing. And back to the beginning of our conversation, it seems for some reason business, which is one of the hardest and most demanding things, and we're talking about running a business, being in charge of people's salaries, which pays for their food and mortgage, we go in blind.
Yeah.
We just jump into it and thinking, it'll work out. Yeah, until those real life consequences start hitting.
Yeah.
And then you realize, oh shit, maybe, you know, I got a mentorship for my carpentry. I got coaching for my sports. We all went to school to learn to read and write. Why does running an entire business and trying to grow a business to $1 million levels, how's that any different? If anything, it would require that even more,
Yeah.
right? So you take that step back, and some people learn the lesson easier. Some people need more mistakes. Some people need, whatever. But it's it's a good moment when you do, because it changes everything.
Yeah.
Like you said, that view from the outside, because we're in it. We look at the day to day. You said it. You're looking at the day to day. You're focusing so much on the work. That's the other problem. All we have is clients in our ear saying, "Get my job done." Our employees saying this and that. Who's there, the voice in your ear, to say, "Okay, for all that to happen, your business needs to be happy and healthy and profitable."
Yeah.
Your client's not going to get his job done. Your guy's not going to get his raise if the company is going under, right? So take care
Yeah.
of that foundation first, and the rest will follow.
Of course.
You know?
Of course. I also think that a lot of people are skeptical of the help that is out there, specifically in the construction industry too, right? Like,
Right.
like I said, we're usually typically pretty arrogant and skeptical, which is totally fair. I mean, I don't want to turn this into like a testimonial on coaching, right? I want guys to get your experience, but
Yeah.
at the same time, I would say that, like, coaches themselves have kind of ruined their own reputation, right? Like, there's a lot of people online claiming to know certain things who, say they had businesses, or say they did this, or they say they did that, and then, you pay them all this money, and they get their portion. And now it's like, right now I've got your check, so I'm good. I can just hang back and feed you fluff, right? And I'll be totally open to
Yeah.
anyone listening to this podcast. Everything that I teach my guys, you can learn on the internet yourself in the next 3 to 4 years if you really paid attention.
Yeah.
You don't need a coach, right? In fact, I hate identifying
Yeah.
myself as a coach. I usually just say I'm a consultant, or I'm a contractor who's been there
Well,
before, you know?
and
I'm
that's what I was
teaching you
gonna
all the
say.
things I've been wrong. Yeah.
I think sometimes people might, it's the wording, like use whatever word you want for it,
Yeah.
right? Somebody someday decided, oh, we're coaches. Okay. Probably like sports and had respect for quote unquote coaches and decided to go with that. But you can call it coach, you can call it mentor, you can call it consultant, like you said. Find whatever word works for you and what you need. Everybody needs a hand,
Yeah.
right? Teacher. You could call yourself a business teacher because you're teaching things. No, but
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like what's people hang themselves on the word.
Yeah.
Oh, coach. It's a broad term. What is a
Yeah.
coach, right? Like, was my mentor in carpentry a coach? Kind of did the same that sometimes you're doing for your
No, you're
clients, like,
journeyman,
hey,
right?
this is
Yeah.
how you do this how you do that. It's all mentorship, helping. And the other thing too, correct me if I'm wrong, but depending on where you are in your business too, it's also not the same.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody who comes to you is like, I'm a $10 million business looking to go to 15 million. I already have 20 employees, all these systems. I'm just trying to, it's not going to be the same as, hey, Lee, I'm just starting out. I want to do this right. Can you help me? Right. So
Yeah.
we're using this broad term for everything, but really it's just having that bird's eye view from somebody with experience and the knowledge, just like a coach would on a player's bench to
Mm-hmm.
take that step back. He doesn't need to make the plays, so it's much easier for him to pick
Yeah.
up on it.
Are you
Hey, I
coaching
see the
T-ball?
whole play. Yeah.
Are you coaching an NFL team, or are you coaching T-ball games for your, the weekend kind of thing? Totally.
Yeah, like even Tom Brady, 7 Super Bowls, he said had Belichick saying, okay, well, yeah, you threw that pass to left field. You were looking there, but you missed the 2 guys in right field.
Yeah.
That's what a coach does. And I don't care how good you are. You can be Tom Brady. If you're looking over there, you miss the 2 passes over there, and that's fine.
Mm-hmm.
But now you got a guy in the back, and whether they listen or not, at least now they know there was 2 guys in the right field. Next time
they're
they'll be
making
able to
it
look that
aware,
way too.
right?
Yeah.
Absolutely, man. Good segue. Talking about coaches and moving into more of that, your CrossFit background. I mean a lot of contractors who their health is always a back burner item. It's like, I'll get to that once I've got this guy hired, or once I get this job done. So I want to rip into a little bit of the mindset of a CrossFit athlete, right? And obviously now the stakes are higher because you've got young kids, you're married, you've got this business which is growing, taking on more complex projects. Let's go back. What pulled you into CrossFit in the first place? Like, why was that the thing? Why was it not something else?
Honestly, so I was a hockey player.
Right.
Played a lot of hockey, very competitive hockey. Injuries caught up. Didn't make the show, obviously. Never was going to. But, hockey was my passion, still play, in a men's league. Stopped that after my injuries and all that. And my health was going down, wasn't this and that. Went to hit the gym, but the gym that's self-motivation, right? I come from a team sports background. And yeah, I found CrossFit, which was very the sport of fitness, right? And when you go to CrossFit, it's classes with people and they keep you accountable. I personally like, putting ego aside, I needed that accountability. I needed that competitiveness to oh, okay, I got my class, I show up. Oh, okay, there's this competition, there's people, like that's what I needed. And that's when I went to that, because it wasn't just working out for working out. It was really it was a competitive aspect to it, of the sport of fitness, if you will.
Yeah.
And yeah,
So
just got into it, drank the Kool-Aid, and became part of the cult, if you will.
I think a lot of people see it as that for sure. But I think
it totally
I think
is.
the
I know it
community,
is.
yeah,
Yeah,
definitely. The community is a big part of it, right? Obviously, people who do CrossFit,
absolutely.
like a big part is the accountability, the community part, the challenge, and then the competitions now, because CrossFit has
Yeah.
exploded.
Yeah. And the accountability, it's a bit like, well, segue to coaching. It's not bad to have somebody who keeps you accountable. for good or
Mm.
worse. I mean, it works.
Yeah.
Accountability works. And I think that's what I liked about CrossFit. Trust me, you don't show up for a week, somebody's calling you. There's a friend in the group, there's a coach, somebody's calling you and being like, hey, is everything okay? Not only is it good for community of like, hey, are you okay? Is we haven't seen
Yeah.
you in a week, just checking in. But if you say, oh yeah, everything's okay, I'm just being lazy, well, they're like, well, what the hell? Get your ass back
Yeah.
in the gym. Let's go. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and some of us need that. I needed that, and it worked
For
out.
sure. For sure, yeah,
So,
I definitely like, and people have heard this story before. How even just 3 years of being on the road, giving out estimates, sitting in rush hour traffic. You're eating McDonald's, you're eating Wendy's, you're holding your bladder because there's not a bathroom nearby. Like that stuff really takes a toll on you, and that's what we do as contractors, right? When we're out giving quotes, and our body is dying in the background and we don't even realize it. I went through that, right? And it wasn't until I was lying in a hospital room with a one of those wands jammed in my kidney, like checking me out, and they're like, you need to change something, you're sick. I'm like,
oh,
it's fine,
I
I'll
see
deal
it
with it
so
next week.
much.
Yeah.
Oh, I see it so much. And I mean, one of the first things my mentor told me when we were like framing houses and this and that, he said, hey, remember, this business isn't going to make you healthy. You have to be healthy to stay in this business.
Mhm.
I've seen your stories so many times with guys just falling apart. We see it, the big plumber who's eating McDonald's every day and then's got to crawl under the sink with a big belly and just awkward. And, we have a tough business. It's not for everybody. And there's so much I could say about staying healthy and fit. I mean, it's so important to me.
Yeah.
And I try to push the guys to stay healthy and fit. And it's so much. I mean, the sleep, right? You're staying healthy, you're eating healthy, you're staying in shape, helps with the sleep. How many guys show up at work, oh, I'm exhausted, I'm not sleeping well, I feel like shit, and this and that. Well, not fun to spend your days like that.
Yeah.
It really isn't. And prevents injury. And so many guys are just trying to crawl into trusses and they're not fit. And I
Mhm.
mean, the guys still call me when there's heavy lifting to be done and all that. I still get my ego boost where they're like, "Oh, can you come to site today and help us with this?" I'm like, "Yeah, still got it." But and it's also
According
for me
to
going.
According to the CrossFit stats, your deadlift max PR is 530 pounds, which is pretty impressive.
Yeah, went up a bit, but yeah,
Is
I'll
it went
take
up a
it.
bit? Oh, okay. You need to update your.
545. But
But yeah, you're totally right, man. And I think it's Dan Martell, who's another pretty famous coach. He says your health is your wealth, right?
yeah,
Your health is your wealth, and your fitness determines your richness. Which, you know, I definitely think that not a lot of guys like put enough of an emphasis on this. And one of the exercises that we do, the F wheel, I think you've done that at some point, Laurent, where it's like it looks at your life holistically and it says, it's family, faith, fitness, fun, finances, future, fulfillment. Where are you in each of those categories? Because if you're fit and you're feeling like you're showing up for your family, you will be a better business owner.
yeah,
Right? When you're just being a good business owner, but your relationship with your spouse is, off track, you're not looking after your body, you're not making plans for the future or setting good goals, everything that you do in your life affects you as a business owner. You need to be good in these other areas as well, especially looking after your health. Especially if you've got kids, man, they're bringing sicknesses home. Like
oh my god.
that'll derail you. Once your kids
Yeah,
get into daycare. Yeah.
we all think we have good immune systems until we have kids, and then we realize we
Oh
just didn't
man,
have
I
kids.
know, I know.
But I tell
I,
it to my
I,
guys all the time. It's
yeah.
it's not even just fitness, a hobby, something. Like we also have the hunting in common, which
Right.
you're way better at. And but it's important, man, to disconnect. Like that's the other thing I like about CrossFit or hockey is in that those hours when you're sweating and I'm not thinking about work.
Yeah.
When I'm like on the rink playing with my buddies or doing big deadlift or trying to do a workout, I'm focused on that. It's my thing. It's my health. Work just disappears. It's good for the soul. So whether it's that or hunting or, I got one guy on our team who's a musician, and at lunch I try to ask him like, hey, you've been playing, like what's, how's the band doing? He has a little side band. How's the band doing? Did
Mhm.
you record anything? Because I want my guys to have that,
Yeah.
right? You need that disconnect. Work, we spend enough time at work we tell the guys too, that's why you want to build a good team. It's like you'll spend more time at work with your workmates than you will with your own spouse.
Hmm.
We're there 8 to 10 hours a day, 5 days a week. You got to disconnect when you get, like, I want my guys to disconnect.
Hmm. And that
But in
comes back
return,
to
I want them
culture.
to be there 8 hours a day, mine
Hmm.
on work, because I give them that disconnect. You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
for them to be focused on work, they need to be able to disconnect at home, have that stuff, have that opportunity. Go, yeah, work is a gateway to make the money so you can do all that stuff, not the other way around.
Yeah. Like that, and that borderlines on the culture conversation of, are we showing up for employees and holding them accountable to their own personal goals as well? Because you will see that in productivity and output when they're working for you. You need to become the coach of your team, of the guys who are on your team, whether it's carpenters or plumbers or electricians or cabinet makers. And you need to be saying, hey, what's your goal for this year? What do you really want to do? What do you want to learn? Right? Do you want to play that big gig, as with your band? Do you want to compete? Do you want to have a family and actually put time into that too? That's what good culture looks like, and it's kind of similar to CrossFit, where accountability doesn't have to be a negative thing. It can be, hey, how can we help each other to actually move through it? And that benefits everyone, and they're going to be way more likely to return the favor and cheer you on. Or, oh, Laurent's off this week because he's doing that big CrossFit competition. Can't believe he's slacking, right? Like that's the kind of
Yeah.
mindset.
Oh,
Like,
absolutely.
no, this dude is like, while he's at that competition, he's getting his mind right. He's looking after himself. He's getting to be Laurent, not the bad guy who, is trying to charge me on my invoice, not the dude who just reamed me out for making a mistake on the job site. He gets to be Laurent, a human, someone who gets to work out, look after his health. And that's transient hypofrontality is exactly that, the name for what you just described. That when I'm doing a deadlift, I'm not thinking about work. You're only focused on that one thing, you know? But give yourself little bursts in your life, right? I go to the gym 3 times a week, or, I spend time with family every Saturday. That's family day. Make it structure and routine. It will help you keep those levels of your life all balanced out. I see so many guys that, and one of the things that I preach, I'm like, go jiu-jitsu. Like, if you
Yeah.
want to like get your mind right, go get crushed by another dude for an hour, twice a week or 3 times a week. Trust me, the last
Yeah.
thing you'll be thinking about is invoices or, that employee who's pissing you off when you're in a chokehold. So there's like that correlation with like competitive team sports or like martial arts with, business and entrepreneurship. We see these guys like, even, Mark Zuckerberg is a purple belt in jiu-jitsu. Elon
Yeah.
Musk is same thing, right? Like, there's something there, fitness
Oh, they
and,
all
and
have their
business
thing
and workout.
outside of work for sure.
Yeah, you need your thing.
And it's
You
it's
absolutely
it's
need your
good to get
thing.
humbled once in a while. It's like CrossFit, you get that 20-year-old kid who comes in and just destroys you, and you're like, oh,
Yeah.
okay. Fair enough. I needed that.
Yeah, and you're like, yeah, wait till you're, 20 years older, or
Yeah.
15 years older, and your knees have went, the cartilage in your wrists is gone.
Yeah.
So let's turn this into like a practical lesson, right? Like, let's say, obviously, you do your CrossFit thing, but let's say I'm a contractor. I do nothing. I just wake up in the morning, I go to work, I survive on coffee, I don't drink water, right? Kind of the typical contractor. What would like a good routine look like, just, throughout the week for someone? Where should they get started?
Start small. I just actually had that with my plumber. He used to play competitive hockey, and he's like, "Oh, I don't know where I went wrong, blah blah blah." And I looked at his habits, and I said, "Oh, I tell you what, just make your lunch for 1 week. Stop going to." He had a Wendy's addiction, so just make your lunch for a week. Nothing else. Don't go to the gym, anything. Just lunch. And sure enough, after a week, he's like, "Oh, kind of feel better." I'm like, "Yeah, and doesn't it feel great?"
Yeah.
You know, get the habit, and then just small steps at a time. I think we all want to jump to, it's like business, right? We all want to be the 10 million company right away. Okay, what's the first step? Let's just the small things compound. That's the beautiful thing about health, business, and all that. It's a compounding effect, not a
Mhm.
1+1. It's like a percentage, which is
Yeah.
awesome. So it's not 1+1. It's okay, you know, 2 times 1, or then 2 times 2. Oh, now we're at 4. 4 times 3. It's
Yeah.
it's exponential. So yeah, set smaller goals. lunch, if you're feeling like that, walk into a gym. Don't go there for a membership or all that. Just go in and see what it's like,
Mm-hmm. Go do a
and
tryout
then go
class.
again.
Yeah. Or
Yeah.
go see what it's about, see what you like. Yeah. I can't even stress how much the make your lunch thing hits.
Yeah.
I did a call with a guy probably about a month ago, and we were running the numbers in his profit and loss, and I think he was $6,000 for the year in meals and entertainment, right? Which, for the record, guys, that's supposed to be for wine and dining potential clients and, taking out trade partners and stuff like that, right? This one, if when we expanded that line item, it was Starbucks, Tim Hortons, or no, sorry, not Tim Hortons, Dunkin' Donuts, it was McDonald's, it was Wendy's. And I'm like, dude, are you just eating out like every day? He's like, well, I'm an hour away from home. Like, I'm just grabbing some. I'm like, dude, man, imagine what you could do with 6K, right? At the end,
Yeah.
and I mean, we're talking American. What could you do with 6K? That's a vacation for you and the family, It's a new piece of equipment. It's a new set of uniforms. Even if it's grabbing a loaf of bread and a packet of, I don't know, chicken or something or turkey at Costco, make your own lunch. It's cheaper. It's more cost effective. And trust me, you'll feel better because you're not filling your body with stuff.
Yeah.
Anyway, this hits home for me, man, because I was a serial McDonald's addict, dude. Like,
Oh, were you?
and
Oh.
with our moving company as well, like every morning we would watch the guys go to gas the trucks up in the morning at the gas station, and there was a Tim Hortons. You cannot eat a farmer's wrap every single day with a spicy sauce and expect that you're going to be in optimal health. There's
Oh,
no
I
way.
was gonna say your gut must have hated you. Oh my
I think
God.
a big one for me was that like you said, you're always in that reactive mode. So things compound. I would go out, I'd be on the road before, I'd hit rush hour, because where we were in Vancouver, like there's bridges to cross. There's actually 5 cities around Vancouver, We call it the
Yeah.
Lower Mainland, but there's 5 different cities, and each one has its own rush hour. So you would drive out, hit one in the morning, you would go give your quote, you'd get back in the car to drive to your next one, you'd hit rush hour again on the other way. You were hitting rush hour 4, 5, 6 times. And when you get home, I would sit up until 11:30 midnight doing invoices, running the numbers, doing any recruitment stuff. I was doing that all at night when I was supposed to be relaxing and taking that time to recuperate. And so when you stay up that late at night while you sleep in the morning, you're right out the door. The last thing you're going to do is grab that lunch, right?
Yeah.
And I think a lot of guys, like you said, they'll go home at night, they'll sit on the couch and they'll watch TV just to try and forget that work exists. And the next thing you know, it's 1 a.m. in the morning and they're off to bed. They're getting a shit sleep. They're getting up early in the morning,
Yeah. And it's so funny because it's compounding. Like one thing you realize, and the healthier you are, the more you do in an hour.
Yeah.
So it's also funny to me where sometimes you try to regain your time. Like we've talked about this before, where one of the hardest parts I find as a contractor, and I'm still struggling with it, is like regaining my time, right? There's always somebody, but an amazing way to regain your time is actually to sleep more and be healthier, because even the days I don't sleep, you look at what you accomplish in that brain fog and all that
Mm-hmm.
versus a day that you've had a good sleep, you went to the gym before, you got those endorphins, you've had a good meal so your gut's not, screaming at you. Guaranteed, after a good night's sleep and a healthy meal, you'll do more in an 8-hour day than you did the 12, 14-hour day before, where you were super tired, rereading your quote 5 times because you had brain fog, forgetting the conversation you had on the phone with your employee and having to double check. Guaranteed. And you'll be happier for it. So it's funny too, where that's why I'm on my guys about their health. We had one guy 2 years ago over Christmas, like he gained a lot of weight, and I did it for him because I cared. I'm like, hey man, like, you okay? Yeah. I said, okay, you like, because we let him take like a month, right? And he's like,
Right.
I'm like, okay, you've gained a lot of weight over the years, and he was sort of, and I said, I'm not saying this to be offensive or anything. I'm saying this because I actually care about you, and it's a big change, and we work in roofs and all that.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, yeah, you know what, you're right. I said, yeah, so anything you need, just let us know. And at first he was this and that, but it took him a few months, but he got it off. And then I went to him, I'm like, how do you feel? He's like, oh, so much better. Like, especially at that time we were framing a house, and he's like, yeah, it's way better to be healthy and work around. I'm like, okay, good. Like, I'm happy for you.
Yeah,
It's, in today's world, sometimes those can be touchy subjects, but if you're doing it for the right reasons, I think it's fine. And he knew we were.
100%. It's accountability, right? It's creating that
Yeah,
accountability, and obviously you'll know that how he performed in that is going to have a trickle effect into his family life, right? Like maybe his
yeah,
wife was thinking the same thing but didn't want to say anything, right? Or maybe you know his doctor was concerned, right? It doesn't matter, like whatever it is, like I said, this is holistic. Your team need to be healthy, you need to be healthy, you need to be in the right mindset. And once you've kind of taken some of those, which are it's essentially a core function of being a human being, is to move, be agile, right? Eat, sleep good. These are just drink
yeah.
water. These are just human
Well, and,
function.
and guys get disgruntled too because they get home and they're like, oh, I never get to spend time with my family. I'm always tired and this and that. And it's like, yeah, but look at you. Like, not in that sense, but you're eating like crap. You're not sleeping because of it. You're drinking a lot at night, not getting into sleep, eating like crap. So you have the same 8-hour day as the rest of us, but you're
Mhm.
getting home and you're absolutely exhausted and all that, and you can't spend time with your family.
Yeah,
So let's help you get on that health bandwagon, not because, oh, it's a new thing and all that. It's let's just get you in good health so you can enjoy life. You can work an 8-hour day without being totally exhausted. So when you get home, you get to spend an hour running around with your kids and stuff like that, right?
yeah, for sure, for
And then
sure.
you won't be as disgruntled with work because you don't feel like work is stealing away from your life, which, I get it. Work's work and none of us want to do it, but we have to pay the bills, right? Like we got the CRA, the Americans got Uncle Sam, like he's not going anywhere either. So, but we can put ourselves in a position where, okay, after that task is done, we still have the energy to have a life. We can still play with our kids, run around, have good weekends. And it's a vicious circle. Then, yeah, work's not that bad anymore when you don't feel like it's taken away all your time because you have the
Yeah,
energy before and after to do stuff.
yeah, yeah. You only get one body, right? I mean,
Yeah.
look after it. And I am not the vision of health, and I'm not preaching here. Like I'm not a
Yeah.
CrossFit athlete.
Well, I
One
mean,
thing I
sometimes
will say,
CrossFit too is with the injuries is not the epitome of taking
I would,
care of your
yeah,
body.
I'd say the same thing with jiu-jitsu as well, man. I get crushed most nights at jiu-jitsu when I go, and it makes me not want to go, but you have to keep pushing yourself to do it, because then I can see
Yeah.
the benefit. One thing, and again, I'm not preaching here, but I gave up. I'm coming up on 12 months of absolutely zero alcohol as well. Like
Oh
completely quit
shit,
drinking
congrats.
this year, and I feel
And you're
amazing.
Scottish, so that's actually like 72
I
months.
know, I know,
You get
right?
like the triple
For
triple
sure.
margin for that.
For sure. So
That's
yeah, and
awesome.
I bet honestly it has made a major difference. Major difference. Like I feel better, you know. And the hardest thing, and we've had family in town that came over from Scotland. My brother flew in from Australia, my other brother flew in from Scotland, my mum came over, like, have a drink, Lee. Come on, have a drink. Why are you quitting drinking?
Yeah.
Oh, you don't be a pussy. Like, here, have a beer, why? And the hardest thing for me was pushing past that kind of societal norm to be like, when you go out for dinner, you should be drinking. Honestly, like I never have to have a designated driver, right? I wake up in the morning when everyone else is hungover and I'm ready to go. So I'm not saying, give up alcohol, right? Whatever. I'm just saying I feel a lot better since I did it. And I feel like too many guys use that as a crutch. I had a hard day, so I need to have a beer and I need to scroll my phone. And I don't think they realize how much time that kills and also how you're going to wake up and feel the next day when you've had 2-3 beers on a Wednesday night, you know?
Yeah.
So keep it in moderation, right? Is all I'm really saying. Anyway, we'll stop preaching health to you guys right now. Let's get into some business stuff here.
Yeah,
I
this
want
is
to talk
Lee
about.
Miller's advice on health.
I know, I
We
know.
switched the podcast.
Yeah, so Laurent's gonna make a whole training regimen for you. He's gonna be no, I'm kidding. Maybe one day. I want to talk about the jump from like that residential work that you guys were doing into that bigger commercial, industrial, stuff. Tell us, like, walk me through that leap from when you went from that into those bigger projects. Like, how were you winning it? How did you find out about them? What were you scared of?
I'll be honest, I guess you got to be good to be lucky and lucky to be good. It sort of came to us, right? We had the opportunity. So long story short, there's a bar chain in Ottawa that my business partner did all the service work for, and they decided to open a new one. They were at like 13 bars, and they opened a new one. So like, hey, you guys do all our service work. You want to jump in? Okay, no problem. Again, like jump in,
Take it.
out of the frying pan into the fire, like, oh yeah, we can figure this out. And you want to talk mistakes? There's a whole other episodes on what mistakes did you do your first commercial job? Well, let me tell you.
Give us the big ones.
Yeah, thinking it's the same as residential. It's much more cutthroat. You have to remember now you're dealing with businesses. With the clients, you're dealing with people. Business, you're just a number, and all they care is the number, right? It's a different ball game. Like we talked about before, commercial, the inspections, the rules and regulations, totally different ball game.
Mm-hmm.
You're dealing a lot more with engineers, big brains, egos. Unfortunately, one thing my mentor, I remember when we took it on, he looked at me and said, okay, you understand that if you want to do this, you're going to have to learn to become an asshole. Like, this is the commercial game now. This isn't, lovey-dovey anymore. There's going to be some big egos, some big personalities. There isn't going to be talking to a client for extras and this and that. Once we sign a budget, like, you're a number and that's all they care about. Like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, let's do this. So yeah, so anyways, we got that opportunity and more came from it. We never really advertised. It's kind of harder in the commercial world to,
It's who you
put a
know.
lawn sign.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's who you know, whose hands you shake, the sub trades. If you impress, one thing I will say, you take care of your sub trades, they'll take care of you. We always have a meeting now with our sub trades before big jobs, right? Because there's always that thing where electricians and plumbers don't like each other, and all those like things that we
Yeah.
say in construction. But you sit them all down and you say, look, we're all in this for the same reason, and that's to make as much money as we can on this job. The more we work together, the more money we're going to make. Simple.
Yeah.
So let's keep the communication up. Let's work together, and we're just all going to make more money. And you take care of your subcontractors, they'll take care of you. So we got a lot of jobs. Our HVAC guy, Dennis, he does all the restaurants because of the hoods and all that. So he started passing our name around because he knew that whenever we called him and we said, we're ready for you, we were ready for him.
Mm.
A lot of best thing you can do for your subcontractors is if you call your electrician in and you say you're ready, be ready for him. No subcontractor likes walking into a job site and it's like, shit, you're not even ready. Like, I'm wasting my time, right?
Yeah.
So
how do you know in that case, like, let's say for an electrician, like, how do you know when you're ready for him? Like, what would need to be done?
it depends on the job site, really, right? But your electrician, you make sure that all the walls are up. He's not stepping over stuff. You want to make sure that the trades that he has to go before him are passed, right? You want to make sure the plumbing and the HVAC's passed, because there's nothing worse than an electrician running his wire coming back because a duct run or a plumbing pipe had to go there, right? Wire's flexible, plumbing and ductwork not so much, right? So, and listen to your sub trades. Like, we all know the steps of building a house or building a commercial job. Oh, okay, you do this and that, but every job is different. So bring your sub trades in, have the conversation with the other sub trades. Let them figure out when they need to come in.
Right.
You know what I mean? Why put it all on you? Let them figure it out. So what we did, like, our most recent one was a kind of a complicated one, because another thing that made our reputation in Ottawa is we're one of the only contractors that will keep you open so one of the first jobs we did for the Royal Oak is we added 4,000 square feet to their bar, and we didn't close a single day.
Wow.
And renovated all their bathrooms. Not a single day closed. So that's a lot of organization and communication, but don't put that all into yourself. You bring everybody in, you have meetings. Okay, can we do this in sections? What do you need done? Okay, you won't be able to run all your wire, but if you get a full day on the job site, a full 8-hour day, are you happy with that? Yes. Okay, what do you need to do a full 8-hour day? Okay, well, this half of the building. Great. So when this half is ready, I can call you to bring you in for a full day. Yes, perfect. How do we make that happen?
I definitely don't think people understand the power of having a bomb-proof planning and communication structure in these things. And this is coming from someone who could, like, our team would paint entire houses in a day and every other painter told us, there's no way you can do that. There's no way you can do a house in a day. And we might say, yeah, the painting takes a day, but there was 2 days of planning that went into this. Who was going to be where, what they were going to be doing, what tools they needed, what materials they needed in each place, right? And I think what you're saying is we have a structure for making sure we're prepared so that when we go in, we can execute. It's like war planning or mission planning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's also knowing, I'll go even further than that, where it's when you start doing commercial work or even residential, first day your plan's out of the window. You know, something will happen to throw it askew. So that's where even more, I'm not saying don't do the plan. The plan is so important because it keeps everybody accountable, but that communication factor.
Right.
That we take care of our sub trades. So when we need them, they take care of us. But it's, you know, emails and texts are great. Get them on the phone. Get people on site. Get them face to face. Accountability and text and all that are a must for sure, especially in today's world with accountability and lawyers and all that. But to my previous point, don't send an email being like, oh, when can you come in? Hey, can we meet on site for an hour? You can come see it visually. Let's have a chat. Like, let's find out what's going on. The HVAC guy's going to be here. I know you had questions about his units. Let's not do this back and forth email. Like, come on down. He'll explain you his units.
Mm-hmm.
You need to know where to run that wire. Like, he's here now. Let's go down. Let's work together. Come down. Okay, great. Do we all agree? Yes, handshake. Then you can follow up with the email to keep everybody accountable. But you want to lay a plan. I think the planning's so important. But sometimes we forget to bring other people in on the plan.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So we try as much as possible at the beginning to be like, okay, here's our plan as the general contractor. But hey, you're the HVAC guy.
Yeah.
So what's your plan? How do we mesh these together? Don't just assume because you say, oh, you're going to be in on this day, that day, you're going to do this. That's what they're going to do. What if there's something you didn't see? I'm not an expert at everything.
Yeah.
You want to keep them happy too. And so let's all get our plans together, make one master plan and communicate through to make sure we're all on the same page. And then we can adjust together, not just me calling up a guy saying, oh my God, you need to be here now. This happened. Well, I knew nothing about it.
Yeah. And I'm on another job site. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, totally. And it makes me think of those videos that you see of, like, you know, the painters came in to do the job, but he's just painted round the stack of drywall up against the wall, or like, you know, just totally the drywaller guy's not even touched it. Totally, man. I think when it comes to those big commercial projects, if you're going to get into them, absolutely the communication and the plan, you need to have a system, even when the plan might fail, right? If you've listened to our prior episode with Sean Livingston, who is a firefighter who owns a cabinet business, you know, we talk about how do you systemize firefighting, because that's what they've got. And it's not we have a set way on how we fight a fire. It's we have a set way on how we think and how we communicate to solve that problem. And if it's your idea, you're going to have way more investment in seeing it happen. If I go to my HVAC guy and I say, hey, you know, how do you want to do this? He's going to respond a lot better to that. And in that way, he can't be pissed off when, you know, his plan fails, and he's going to be more willing to adapt later rather than us being the expert and everything. But I think it starts with having good sub-trades that you've vetted, that you have a subcontractor agreement with, and you have a process anytime you're kicking off a new project, an all hands meeting, right?
No, absolutely. And we always say our number one job as a contractor or project manager is managing expectations.
I love that.
Number one job, managing expectations. Now, the problem is a lot of people think that stops with the client. But why does it have to stop with the client? Why can't you manage your subcontractors' expectations?
Yeah.
Why can't you manage your employees' And the only way you know people's expectations is to have a conversation.
Yeah.
And again, not necessarily just by text or email. Let's sit down. What are your expectations? What are my, like, I have expectations as a contractor too. And if all our expectations are out in the open, we can manage them.
Yeah.
And then that's great. Because there's only 2 good days on a job, right?
Yeah.
The first and the last.
First day and the last.
We try to find the shortest distance in between them.
Yeah, at least amount of heading. Yeah.
So yeah, like managing expectations, man.
Gotcha. So residential versus commercial, right? Let's say I'm a contractor who's sitting on the fence and I'm like, I really want to get into commercial work, or I really want to stay in residential, right? I'm trying to make that decision. what would be like the honest, and when we say commercial, guys, Laurent's working on multi-million-dollar projects, like multi-million-dollar infrastructure projects, lots of moving parts, lots of people involved. Ultimately what we're trying to find out here is it worth it, or do we leave it to the guys who want to do it? Laurent, what would be the honest pros and cons of residential or commercial? Like, what would be the pros and cons of each? And
Yeah,
your
pick your
vision.
poison, really. Yeah, one thing I will say is a pro and con of commercial is that it's much, much, much more office dependent. You want mistakes. Like one of the first mistakes we did is we took on a commercial project and we said, oh, okay, well, we can be the superintendent and the project manager. Like we can juggle both. No, you need a guy in the office sitting there taking the calls. Like it's a whole different beast.
Yeah.
And yeah, you want to talk about working overtime, like when you're because you have to, the time frames are so different and the ordering takes so long. Like, residential, you can be much more reactive. Commercial, the second something happens, you need to call right away because that order might be 2 weeks down the road. You're not picking it up at Home Depot. Commercial sliding doors, for example, here in Canada, the main sliding doors are made down in Florida.
Right.
You miss a measurement or something, like that's a 3-month order. Right. So I think that's, if you're a person who likes organization, that office sort of managerial thing, commercial's great. If you want to be more hands-on, people person, residential, you're dealing much more with the clients. A lot more new. The other nice thing about residential, you're jumping from project to project. Some people love that, right? They like to move around. You have way more opportunities to go from one bathroom to the other. You finish a bathroom in a month or two, you're on to the next one. You get to see new things, new designs. There's that fun aspect. Whereas a commercial job, like the one we've been there for a year because it's full 50,000 square foot reno. We're trying to keep them open at the same time. There's a whole corner of the building that's going to have to come out, cutting, steel girders and stuff. So you're there for a long time, but then some people love that. It's almost like going to an office. It's like, hey, for the next year, you're going to the same address. So, enjoy.
Predictability. Yeah.
Predictability. But the one thing I will say about commercial, though, higher risk, higher reward. Everybody sees the big numbers. So they think, oh, awesome, $3 million project. I can make 10, 12% like net profit on this. Wow, big number. Yeah, but the screw ups are bigger,
Oh, yeah.
So it can be much more stressful. I think you need before getting into commercial, I'd say like know your personality.
Mm-hmm.
It takes bigger nerves. Like I said before, my mentor told me, like, you have to start becoming an asshole because you can't give an inch, and in residential, it's much easier to go to the client, ask, you make a small mistake, okay, it's going to cost you a few bucks, right? But for example, if you want a great one, the job we just did, got a flooring coat. The guy didn't put the square footage on it. He just did full LVP install for phase 1 of project. He missed his takeoff by 1,500 square feet.
That's a fun conversation.
That's an $8,000 mistake that he tried to put on us. And I love the guy and we work with him for a long time, but those compounds. So is it my responsibility to take $8,000 of hit because he didn't measure properly?
And I think a lot of people would naturally go, oh, well, you should pay him, or, if that was me in this situation. But I think the thing you guys need to remember is that with commercial work, even though it's a high ticket price, 1% makes a major difference. It's so easy to lose money on those big commercial projects. Like Laurent said, one mistake, $8,000. One mistake, $25,000. It could lead very, very easily. And if you're not paying attention to that, or you don't have good sub trades, or you're not hitting your deadlines, you might pay to do that project where you could have taken on 3 or 4 residential bathrooms and made, a 40 or 45% gross and a 20% net. Easy.
And I've never seen, or heard of a commercial project that didn't have big surprises or extras or something.
Right.
Never. So that's the other thing. It's like, okay, it's a grand error, but every single one of our subtrades missed something on that job, which is normal. Plus, there's all the extras we got to fight with the client of the base building. And okay, was it the engineer that missed it? Was it something they could see? You know, all those conversations of, oh, well, we opened this wall, we found this out, like this and that. So, you know, you look at a $3 million job, and before you know it, if you took all those little mistakes, you know, plus all the unknowns, plus all the extras, plus all of a sudden, you're 20% over budget.
Yeah.
If I was to take every hit and all this and that, you just popped your budget by 20%.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you do the math, 20% on 3 mil,
Significant,
all of a
right?
sudden that $8,000 turned into something. And that's that project. Some are easier, some are that, but it compounds, right? And it's the classic of, you know, you give an inch, they take a mile.
Yeah.
Well, a mile on a construction site, on a commercial job site, is a longer mile than on a bathroom job. You know,
Yeah.
you
100%.
forgot to price out the grout in a 10 by 10 bathroom. I'm gonna go buy the bag of grout and
You
we're
can
gonna
eat
put
that.
it in.
Yeah.
You forget to price the grout on a, you know, 4,000 square foot commercial slab.
Mm-hmm.
It's different story.
Yeah, and that could ruin a lot of
Yeah.
guys. That could put some
Yeah.
people in some serious financial trouble. You know, not to mention that you're too late at that point to say, oh, maybe commercial work isn't for me. You're now committed to that project. There's no liability there. You could get sued if you don't fulfill your obligation to that contract. So what we're saying is, guys, if you're gonna branch out and get into that commercial, just be prepared with a skill set, right? Like, have either yourself become detail orientated or hire someone who can do that stuff for you. You know, have a process, have a system, up your communication. And if that's not you, if you want to keep it, you know, working with customers who are predominantly emotionally, you know, using emotion to buy from you, which would be residential, stick to residential, right? You can wing it. It doesn't hurt as much if you screw it up. If you're saying we have good systems, we have good processes, we know the right costing, we have a skill set where we can cost accurately, and we have a good list of subtrades, maybe it's now time for you to branch into smaller commercial and dip your toes in the water. Are you pretty like would you if you could only choose one or the other, would you be commercial or residential? What would you choose if you could only do one?
Wow. I get too bored too easy. Wow, that's a hard one, man.
I like residential personally, but definitely see the benefit of commercial. Even while you think about that, I'm gonna
I think
tell you.
I think I got a soft side for residential. I'll be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah. It brings different challenges and different things, and yeah, but I got a soft side for residential. I guess the only thing I will say about residential though, you know, you were saying pros and cons. Commercial, it's kind of from client to client kind of the same, right? There's less emotion. It's more about when are we opening, stick to the budget. Like it's much more that, right?
Yeah.
Residential, I will say, you'll get way more highs and lows. You will have the best, nicest, sweetest clients in the world. And the next job you do, you want to strangle the person and you don't know how you're not in jail yet for just burning down their house. Like,
Yeah.
I will say that's, yeah. I think commercial is much more straightforward in that sense, where it's a lot less emotions, more, you know, checks and balances and schedules. Whereas residential, there's a lot of, dare I say, psychology involved. You
For
know,
sure.
from one client to the next, it's commercial is much more about the work, the budget and all that, whereas residential comes back to one thing I said, where residential, the work's the easy part by far. The clients are the job.
Yeah.
If you got great clients, great, it's going to be a great job. If you have the bad clients, I don't care how prepared you are, you're going to be happy when it's over. And it's not
For
to
sure.
say that it'll be a bad experience, but I mean, I can tell you, I still have him in my head. Worst client we ever had, didn't have a single money issue with him.
Yeah. No, and that's
Paid every
typically how
dime.
it goes. Yeah.
Yeah. Worst client we ever had. Paid every bill, paid it on time. Wouldn't get, I purposely make sure I don't drive in front of that place. Such bad memories. Like I take the detour. I take the long road.
PTSD.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, no, I feel that, man, for sure. And like, you know, like we were saying, I think for residential, it's because you're trying to build, you're trying to execute on somebody's idea or vision that they have in their head of what something's going to look like, you know, and if you even falter from that for 1 second, that's when they're going to pull you up on it. On commercial, it's here's the plan, here's the material, here's where to build it, how it needs to be built, and, you know, here's the process. It's super simple,
Yeah.
right? You just do it as you're told.
Yeah, and the plans, like when you get commercial too, the other nice thing that everybody loves is love or hate engineers. There's full engineer specs, so there's no guesswork, right? This is where your
Yeah.
pipe's going. Even your tiles, this is the height, this is the layout. You know, it is very nice for that as well. It's very there is a nice part about commercial, and I'm not saying it's bulletproof, but there's more accountability of here's your design, here's the specifics, whether you agree with it or not, it's very black and white. Where residential, there's another level of communication in residential with the clients because you won't get those drawings.
Mm-hmm.
You got to figure stuff out. You open the wall, shit, where are we running the pipe? Well, you know, we're doing a job right now, residential addition, this and that. There's no mechanical, which there isn't with residential. So it's like when you have to go to the client and be like, okay, so where do you want your bulkhead? Oh, but there's no bulkheads on my pretty, 2D
Yeah.
done in 2 hour picture. Okay, but you have a washroom, you got your plumbing, and I got to run a 3-inch pipe to your toilet. It's got to go somewhere.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a
Oh,
lot.
does it have to? Yes, it
Yeah.
has to.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
if
And
you
they
want
don't
it to
know.
work,
Yeah.
no, and
They
they
don't know
don't.
how these things work, right? I mean, at the end of the day, like your residential customers are not professional builders or planners or engineers. They don't know what it actually looks like in the end. They just go, hey, I saw this on Pinterest. This is what I want, you know.
Yeah.
This is how I want to feel when I walk into the room. Whereas the builder goes, here's what they asked for. They approved this design. Build it the way we want to build it. You know, build it
Yeah,
the
and
way
that's
we
one thing we
build it.
do with our clients now that I just did today, actually, this morning with a meeting. It's actually not a bad idea when you start a project with a client. It's like, okay, what do you guys know about construction?
Yeah, 100%.
But we just had two lovely older couple. We're doing their bathroom in a condo, and they're an older couple, so they're very okay. We need our bathroom back, and it's like, okay, well, do you guys know how this is going to work? Because of course they ask, well, can you put the toilet back? So at least we have a toilet. I'm like, okay, you guys clearly don't know this. Let's take a step back.
Yeah. Let's educate you. Let's coach you to buy from us so that, well, it's
And
managing
then,
expectations, right?
yeah,
Exactly
so
like you
then I,
said.
I walk them through. This is how it goes. Okay, first we do the demo. Once we do that, yeah, there will be a day or two of nothing because we don't want to plan right away because you don't know what you're going to find behind walls. If I plan the schedule too tight and I got to push people back, then, it's going to, okay, then what's next? Okay, then we get our plumber in, and then you start explaining and it makes them aware of what's going on.
Yeah.
You've explained it to them and they know what you're talking about. It makes everybody happy. And even you, like, it's funny sometimes how you walk through your clients with that and even it makes you reminds you of stuff. Oh shit, that's right.
Yeah.
That is the next step. I should call that guy.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we
You know?
learn these things from pain from the past, right? Like that's typically what we
Yeah.
say a contract is. A contract is just all the stuff that you've messed up in your business in the past that you got burned on. Now you're putting it in writing to try and avoid it, right? Or your
Well,
employee agreement.
you say that we have a joke, me and my designer, that I have a clause for every one of our clients.
Yeah. That's
You
Dave.
can go through my
Steve.
contract and I can tell you which clauses for which client we've had
Yeah.
every time.
100%.
Yeah. It's
100%.
funny you say that. I could go
Yeah.
through it.
Yeah, ask me why there's a clause for putting liens on houses in my
Yeah.
contract, you know, or
Or
material
my favorite one
purchasing.
is we will charge you if you call me after hours when I'm in with my
Yeah, yeah. Which, by the way, is totally fine to have as long as you
Yeah.
set expectations with your customer that that's how it works out. You
Yeah.
will have heard this on another podcast where we said, you know, when it comes to your sales system, when you're giving your client the proposal and they're saying, yes, we'd like to move forward, one of the best things you can do is say, great, we can get things lined up. Can we book a 20-minute call? I just want to point out some specific things in the contract, milestones, deadlines, deposits, contracts. And, you know, my cabinet makers are listening to this. Designs, when do we get that design? You need to set that expectation, walk your client through the project. And guess what? If something happens later, at least they knew that you were going to bring it up. You knew that, you know, that you had that in your contract. Most of the time when I had a fallout with a customer, it was because me or one of my sales guys missed covering the clause in the contract that that was going to come up, because people don't read
Yeah.
contracts, they just sign it, right?
Every single client we've had, there's always that one part in the contract. Oh, that's in there?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, it's in.
Yes, it
Even
is.
scopes of work, that's actually the worst.
Yeah.
You put scopes of work and it's like, oh, are you guys providing the pod list? And I look in and it's like, yeah, I even put the number. Like people, no, I agree, they won't read them. And simple tricks like now what we started doing with that too is I got that from my phone provider is how they make you initial next to the
Yeah.
important stuff. So now I
Yeah.
started doing that. I'm like, you know what, screw this. It's not just one big signature. I'm gonna make you initial right next to like the really important stuff.
For
And
sure.
even I've more than less. Like sometimes I've had people say like, oh really, you're gonna charge us this much? And part of it is, for the after hour calls. I'm like, yeah. Said I don't want to. It's a deterrent.
Yeah.
It's make them think twice,
Yeah.
right? It's just like, oh, why is this in here? Yeah, I guess I shouldn't call him after hours. He's got a family too. It's not that we want to. Sometimes, it's like keeping honest people honest. It's,
Yeah.
it's not their fault either. Like clients get home after work just like everybody else. And then they see the project they're doing. And then something comes to mind. Oh, I should call him about it, right? It's also again, managing expectations, those conversations. I always have a conversation with my clients. Okay, what's your favorite method of communication?
Yeah. 100%. Crucial.
Okay, you're an email person or you're a call person. Okay, let's set some parameters so we're all happy,
Yeah.
right? And, even emails, I'll tell clients, hey, there's a delay send on the email.
Yeah.
I get it. You have to write it at night, but, if there's an emergency, I need to know. So just do me a favor. And usually people they're in the same boat. You say, hey, by the way, been sending a lot of emails. You mind just clicking delay send? So I
Yeah.
guess the office at 8, just so I'm not thinking there's an emergency. And usually most people are like, oh yeah, that's fine. No problem.
Mm.
And
Yeah.
to
It's
be
setting
fair, when you have those
expectations.
contracts, when you have those conversations before a job too, it deters. I've dropped clients because they read the contract and they lose their minds. And it's like, I had one, they lost their mind on the service charge if they were more than 30 days overdue on an invoice.
Mm-hmm.
So we ended up not taking the contract. And they asked us like, well, we wanted to use you. Why didn't you take it? And I said, with all due respect, if you were that stressed of a service charge for being 30 days late on a payment, why would I work with somebody who's so stressed about paying their bills?
Unless you intended to, right? But
Exactly.
and I get this because
Yeah.
we see this with our residential contractors where they're saying, well, my GC isn't paying me. And we say, well, did you ask them? Did you sit down specifically and say, hey, here's the dates when I need to get paid. Here's the, otherwise we don't want the project. But, in that situation for you, did you starve to death from not taking that project?
No.
No, but you stood your ground.
But I slept better at night for not taking the project. I can
100%.
tell you that. Yeah.
Yeah, you need to set your own expectations. You need to draw your hard lines in the sand and say, hey, I'm not going to conform to exactly what it is you want. Here's the system that I have for doing a great job at high quality with the best people and doing it a way where you suffer zero headache. This is the process I have to follow. You want it? Great.
And it's
You
funny
don't?
too. This comes really full circle to the beginning of our conversation a bit when I said that act more like the business you want to be.
Yeah.
Clients don't necessarily know how many employees you have or this and that. You can build a website tomorrow that makes you look like a multinational. If you want your clients to treat you like that, think of the best contractor, well, not best, but the contractor in your city or town that you want to emulate. I have them in Ottawa. I have those contractors before me that I'm like, wow, you guys run a great business. Oh my God, you got the shirts and this and that. Well, if you show up with a clean shirt with your logo, you have the proper contracts, you have those clauses that the bigger guys would have and all that, you're going to gain that respect from your client. If you show up, you barely have a contract, you're in your ripped jeans, you don't have the right lingo in your contract to start with, your schedule is all over the place, the client's going to take advantage of that. They're going to treat you to that level.
Yeah.
Right? They're going to call you at night, they're going to send you stuff, they're going to bug you. If you set those parameters off the bat, they're going to treat you like that company. They're going to treat you the way you want to be treated.
Mm-hmm.
So set those parameters again, even if you're just that one guy. It doesn't matter. I guarantee you the contract you need to sign for that washroom is the same contract that the biggest contractor in your city will sign for that washroom. It's the same
50 bathrooms
Like,
in that commercial
yeah,
space.
the contract is about the client and the job, not what you interpret the size of your company is.
Yeah. Yeah, you're totally right. There is no ceiling on when you can start to put these processes and systems in place. But look at it's unquantifiable how many dollars you've saved or not lost from having those clauses in your contract, right? Or the time
Yeah.
that you've lost with bad clients. Honestly, it's if you don't have a contract right now, go download one on our school course. Like, we have a basic one there that you can pull, or an employee agreement or a subcontractor agreement. Like, all of those resources are there. But really, what it comes down to is, don't wait, right? Don't wait to try until you need it. Don't wait till you need it, because if you wait till you need it, you probably just went through something that said, hey, you needed this contract to protect you here. And if you're sitting there on the fence and you're like, but I don't want to lose a bunch of jobs because of like overcomplicated contracts, it's not a contract problem that you have. It's a marketing problem. You do not have enough leads coming in the funnel for you to pick and choose and be choosy with the clients that you actually take on, also known as the ones who will sign that contract with you, whether you're residential or commercial. Like, that is absolutely crucial. Laurent, I'm dragging you way over time here, man. We could keep going forever. I want to wrap up with one last thing for you. I just want to quickly touch on team real quick. So, when it comes to hiring A players, from what we've done together and working with each other, like, you're very choosy with who you let on your team now, right? You've seen what not focusing on the team or not focusing on culture to where you are now. Can you just give us like 60 seconds? Like, what's your view on team, A players, culture in a big construction business?
It's everything. Your team will make you or break you. I said it earlier. We spend more time with the people we work with than our own families, right? You're 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, and it's everything. They represent the company. They represent you. I was told a long time ago, and I didn't listen quick enough, that you hire slow, fire fast. And I will say, skills can be taught. I can teach a guy how to frame. You can't teach attitude. You can't teach the will to be there. And so now I've changed my, that process where I try to find A players, not necessarily in their skill, but that A person in their attitude, their willingness to be there, their fit in. You get the right guy, they'll learn how to do the job. They really want to be there, no problem. They'll be receptive to learning, right? What I want to see is those guys that at lunch, they're not all sitting around on their iPhones, I have to say I'm pretty proud when I go to site to lunch. They're talking, they're shooting the shit, they're joking around, they want to be there with each other. And I think I so underappreciated that. And also, if you're going to become a contractor, another mistake, and I had to learn the hard way, is a lot of times we become contractors because we're good at what we do. Like, I know I'm a great carpenter, and find better guys than you. You want no stress. Stop trying to find the apprentice or the guy to pass you the drill. Find the guy you want to pass the drill to. Guarantee your life's going to be easier. Took me a long time to learn that, and I'm still trying to find them. And I started late, and I'm still, took me a while, and I still need to be on the tools because of it sometimes. But yeah, just like you want to find an accountant who's better at doing the numbers than you and all that, you want the same in your team. Find those guys.
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
Your guys will make you look good, and that's going to make you money. So
yeah. This is the big lesson that I learned was I had to become a people development business that happened to do residential contracting work, right? Like, when you put yourself in that mindset and you say, I'm going to pour everything into my guys, the standards, the expectations, how to act, how to be successful, and then give them opportunities to make good money, climb the ladder, take pride in their work, try and really focus on those intrinsic values. That's where the magic really happens, because what happens when you got happy employees? You get happy clients. When you get happy clients, what do? They make your bank account happy and healthy. So, I mean, you need to approach it in that order.
We're glorified babysitters, man.
Yeah.
But it's like again, to the sport analogies, it's like a team, they talk about the dressing room all the time. I think that's what it comes down to. like I said, I'm a big hockey fan, and you got all those superstars and all that. But like an interesting statistic, no team has ever won the Stanley Cup with a player making over 10 million bucks.
Really interesting.
It's never happened. Why?
See, there's
Because you need to build a team, not
yeah,
pick the one superstar. And I think, to my mistake as well, when we open the business and you're starting on your own and you're still on the tools, you're the superstar.
yeah,
You were the great carpenter, and you're the great carpenter who is good enough to go on his own, or I'm better than those guys. So you become number one and you're the great superstar, and you're trying to build this team on the superstar. But if you're also running the business, you can't also be the superstar on the field. And I had to learn that the hard way, that it's like I had to, not the hard way, but I came to that crossroads when you were asking me earlier that question about when did you realize
mhm,
that, you had to become a contractor. I think that was one of those big moments where I realized, like, okay, I now have to make a choice. Am I a carpenter who's like a business owner on the side trying to do his own thing? Or am I a business owner who's running cutting edge construction and
yeah,
the other guys are the carpenters?
mhm,
And I'm still, we're working towards it, and it's still not perfect, but I think that's the big one. It's time to step away. When you run a business, you're not on the bench anymore as a player. You got to learn to be the coach or the general manager, because that's what was happening to me, is I was still on the bench trying to score the goals or whatever and have my ego trip, looking back and realizing, like, wait a minute,
yeah,
there's no manager in the stands to see what we're doing and pick the right players, and there's no coach on the bench to give us directions as a unit and all that,
yeah.
right?
It's like that transient hypofrontality that I was talking about earlier, where if you're solely focused on one thing at a time, think of everything you're missing on the that's going on around you in the background, and
Yeah,
that's why you need to be up in that coach spot, so you're watching the whole field, the whole battlefield. You're seeing everything happening, and you're making your 20-minute, 40-minute, 60-minute decisions, and going, no, do you know what? Like, I've got enemies coming in 10 miles out. They're going to be here in 7, 8, 9 minutes, 10 minutes, whatever. How do I lead my team to be prepared for that coming up? And
yeah,
that's where so many guys are they're in there with the team, and they think that's the best form of leadership that they could possibly give.
yeah.
You know?
Yeah, if you want to get to a certain size, you have to realize being a contractor is a full-time job.
Yeah.
Being a proper contractor or business owner, especially at the size that most of us want to get, is whatever you want to call it, a 9 to 5 full-time job. So if you're also on site, guess what? Now you got 2 full-time jobs. If you're doing the
Yeah.
books, you got 3. And we all learn it the hard way. We've all done the 20-hour days and whatever, but you know, and I know me saying it, we're guys are still going to do it, and that's fine. Like we're stubborn construction guys. We got to learn the hard way. But I
Yeah.
think that's something I wish somebody would have almost like sat me down and told me when I decided to be a contractor. They said, okay, this is a full-time job.
Yeah.
You
You need to let
can't
it go.
you can't properly do both. You're doing
Mhm.
both, you're doing them both sort of halfway,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Which I think you've went through a lot in your business. You've done a lot of the wrong things. You've also done a lot of the right things now. You're starting to see the light as to what your position needs to be and who you are in the team, especially navigating this new area that you've never been in before. Let's start to wrap up here, Laurent. Like, if you could give these guys like one rule that actually works in your business, like one thing to take away from this episode, what would it be? What would be the one thing that they should do?
Oh wow. Oh, you finally stumped me.
So
I feel I
health,
should be
getting into
giving anybody
commercial work,
lessons, you know?
getting
Yeah.
into commercial work, contracts, like what's one thing that they can take away that they can implement today, whether it's a mindset or a health thing that they can,
All
yeah,
right, mindset. Yeah, I'd say stop selling yourself short on what a construction business is. This still a proper business, and treat it like it, you
mm-hmm,
know? Like I said, I think sometimes we sell ourselves short where we think, oh, I'm just a carpenter who's going to start doing renos and all that. No, you're a
mm-hmm,
business. You have the same books, same business number as the big boys and all that. Start treating it that way,
yeah,
act. If you want that success and you want to grow, then act like that $5 million company you want down the road.
mm-hmm,
Get your bookkeeper. Don't do the books yourself. It's going to cost you $30 a month at the beginning. She'll spend 1 hour on it. But hey, now you got the bookkeeper. So when you're that big, she's already in the loop, and you'll start paying her 60. Then before you know it, she'll be full time on your crew, but you won't
Yeah.
have that training to do and all that. She'll be the ones doing it for you. Get the program. They're not expensive, but find that program that you want to work with, so that when you hit those 6 employees, you're not trying to teach 6 guys at the same time while you're trying to learn it. And I think that's the big thing I'd say. We sell ourselves short. You want to become a contractor, a business owner, act like it right from the beginning. That's a mistake that I made.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. It's a mistake we all make, right?
Yeah.
One last question, Laurent, and I promise I'll let you go.
It's all good.
Let's say there's a contractor out there who's, he's producing decent money. Things are a bit of a shit show, but he's making it work, and he's considering getting into coaching. Like, what would you say to someone just from your experience, being in coaching, being part of Brave Academy, being part of the community? Like, what would you tell someone?
Call Lee. Call Brave Academy. No, I think I said it before. I think it's like, put your ego aside a bit and realize that it's one of the hardest, complicated, fulfilling things to do, to have your own company, your logo on things and all that. Get somebody in your corner. Call it what you want. If coaching's not the word you want to use, call it, like you said, consulting, call it teaching, call it whatever you want. Be better than the people around you and go train yourself, right? You trained yourself to be a carpenter because you wanted to be the best carpenter. You went to school to learn how to read and write so you could be better at it. Why wouldn't you go and get coaching to be the best business you can be?
Mm-hmm.
Right?
I love it.
Like,
100%.
It's funny how one of the most important things in our lives, which pays our bills, which is so linked to us, is the one thing we don't seem to want to get the coaching and the training for. I'm an old guy still looking at hockey videos to be a better hockey player, or getting coaching on CrossFit to do better, and yet I'm not going to go and get advice and help from somebody who's done it for running the thing that's making me live, paying my bills, and running my life. Like,
yeah,
seems a little counterintuitive.
100%. Yeah, I would totally agree. Laurent,
you don't know what you don't know.
No, I know, right? You've been an amazing guest, man. Like you said, we could do multiple episodes. We could chat here for 20 hours if we really wanted to. I would say over a beer, but I'm on the wagon right now, so
I'll have 2. I'll have one for you as well.
There you go. Yeah, you have mine. But yeah, we'll have you back on the show at some point. For anyone who wants to follow up with questions or whatever, we're not going to dox Laurent and give you his cell phone number because he might charge you for it. However, Laurent is in our school group. He is a member in there. He's in the community. If you enjoyed this episode, go tell him in the school community that you enjoyed the episode. And if you've got a follow-up question for him, I'm sure he'll help you out.
Absolutely.
Yeah, guys, stay brave. Keep grinding. Keep building these businesses. Just, work on being an entrepreneur, not just a good carpenter, plumber, electrician, whatever. And we'll see you on the next one. We've got a great guest coming up that you guys are going to absolutely love. Maybe not as much as you love Laurent's episode, but stay tuned to the podcast. We've got tons coming for you guys. And if you have any feedback for us, let us know. See you on the next one.